Welcome. Tonight, we invite you into a peaceful corner of the universe. In the beginning, before the time of gods and mortals, there existed only the primordial forces of creation, chaos, the swirling void that birthed the first beings. From chaos came Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. Together, they gave form to the universe and established the foundation upon which all life would grow. Gaia, the great mother of all, was fertile and nurturing, while Uranus, vast and eternal, stretched his starry body over her, binding the heavens to the earth. As their union blossomed, Gaia bore children, the first of whom were the Titans, immortal beings of immense strength and divine essence. The Titans were 12 in number, 6 males and 6 females, and they embodied the raw forces of nature and existence. Among them were the wise Oceanus, the far-seeing Hyperion, and the relentless Cronus, the youngest but the most ambitious of them all. Though Gaia loved her children, Uranus grew fearful of their power. He looked upon his Titan offspring with suspicion, for their might threatened to rival his own. Fearing that they would one day usurp him, he forced Gaia to keep them hidden deep within her womb, far from the light of the world. Each Titan was locked away, never seeing the stars, never feeling the warmth of their mother's embrace. This imprisonment caused great suffering to Gaia. The earth groaned with the weight of her children trapped inside, and her agony echoed through the cosmos. Desperate to free her offspring, Gaia devised a plan. She fashioned a great sickle from the hardest stone, a blade capable of cutting through the very fabric of existence, and presented it to her sons. But fear held the Titans back. None dared to challenge Uranus, the sky itself, for his wrath would be devastating. None save one, Cronus, the cunning and bold. Cronus took the sickle from his mother's hand, his eyes burning with determination. He would not live in the shadows of his father, nor would he allow his siblings to suffer any longer. He swore to Gaia that he would bring an end to Uranus' reign and free them all. One fateful night, when Uranus descended from the heavens to lie with Gaia, Cronus lay in wait. As the sky drew close to the earth, Cronus struck. With a single powerful sweep of the sickle, he severed Uranus from Gaia, and the sky was forever separated from the earth. Uranus' blood fell upon the fertile ground, and from it sprang terrible beings, the Gigantes, the Furies, and the Melee nymphs of the ash trees. Cronus stood triumphant, his father's power broken, and he declared himself ruler of the cosmos. He freed his fellow Titans, and together, they emerged into the light of the world for the first time. Under Cronus' leadership, the Titans established a new era of order, a golden age of prosperity. Yet, even as he took the throne, Cronus knew deep down that the cycle of power and fear was not truly broken. For as Uranus lay dying, his voice rose from the heavens, uttering a terrible prophecy. With his last breath, Uranus cursed Cronus, declaring that just as Cronus had overthrown him, so too would one of Cronus' own children rise against him. The words of the prophecy echoed through Cronus' mind, and though he was the new ruler of the cosmos, a seed of dread had been planted in his heart. He knew that his reign, like his father's before him, would not last forever. The shadow of the prophecy loomed over the golden age he sought to build, and Cronus, determined to prevent his fate, would stop at nothing to ensure that his own offspring would never rise against him. Thus, even in the midst of triumph, the seeds of doom were sown, and the fate of the gods was set in motion. With Uranus defeated and his blood staining the earth, Cronus claimed the throne of the cosmos. The world entered what would be remembered as the Golden Age, a time when mortals lived in peace, free from toil, and nature provided in abundance. Under Cronus' reign, the Titans ruled the universe, each governing a different aspect of creation. Cronus, with his unchallenged authority, declared that the order he had established would remain unbroken for all eternity. Yet, beneath this golden veneer, Cronus' fear gnawed at him. The prophecy of his father lingered, and he knew his reign was built upon the fragile sands of fate. Though the Titans were now free and the cosmos was theirs to rule, the great primordial forces, those older than even the Titans, remained. The hundred-handed ones and the Cyclopes, monstrous and mighty children of Gaia and Uranus, had not been released with the Titans. Cronus, fearing their strength and unpredictability, had taken no chances. He cast them deep into Tartarus, the darkest, most wretched pit in existence, ensuring that they could never rise against him. Tartarus, vast and endless, lay beneath even the underworld. There, in the deep chasms of the void, the hundred-handed ones were bound in chains forged from the very bones of the earth. Their strength was unparalleled, for each of the three giants had 100 arms and 50 heads, and the power to shake the very foundations of the world. The Cyclopes, too, were imprisoned, their single, immense eyes seeing nothing but the blackness that surrounded them. These master smiths, who would one day craft weapons of unimaginable power, were left to rot in the depths of Tartarus. Cronus, content with his actions, believed he had eliminated any threat to his reign. He and his fellow Titans ruled from Mount Othrys, a great mountain that served as the seat of their power. The Titans established order in the cosmos, each sibling ruling over their dominion. Oceanus, the oldest, governed the vast, uncharted waters, while Hyperion brought light to the world through the sun and stars. Rhea, the sister and wife of Cronus, stood by his side as queen, watching over the earth and its natural beauty. But despite the prosperity of his reign, Cronus could not shake his fear of the prophecy. The shadow of betrayal hung over him like a dark cloud, and he grew obsessed with the idea that one of his children would one day rise against him. His mind twisted by paranoia, Cronus resolved to prevent the prophecy at all costs. Rhea, once filled with joy at the thought of motherhood, now lived in constant fear and sorrow. Each time she bore a child, her husband, Cronus, would seize the newborn and swallow it whole. His consuming paranoia and the weight of his father's prophecy had twisted him into a tyrant who could not be reasoned with. The prophecy foretold that one of his children would one day overthrow him, just as he had done to his own father, Uranus. Cronus was determined to prevent this, and his solution was as brutal as it was cunning. If his children never saw the light of day, they could never rise against him. It began with Hestia, the goddess of hearth and home, born with the gentle fire of peace in her heart. Rhea had scarcely held her firstborn in her arms before Cronus arrived. His face, once filled with the tenderness of a new father, had twisted into a mask of terror. Without a word, he tore the infant from Rhea's embrace. Her cries of protest fell on deaf ears as Cronus opened his mouth wide and devoured his child whole. Hestia, still an infant goddess, was consumed, her divine essence trapped within Cronus' belly. Rhea was left sobbing, powerless to protect her daughter. Cronus, having tasted the bitter satisfaction of security, felt a dark pleasure in his act. He believed that by swallowing his child, he had thwarted the prophecy, secured his throne, and ensured his continued reign. But his paranoia only deepened, and when Rhea became pregnant again, the cycle repeated. This time it was Demeter, the goddess destined to bring fertility and abundance to the earth. As soon as the child was born, Rhea hid in the shadows, hoping to protect her baby. But Cronus had spies everywhere. He found them, and, with the same terrifying resolve, seized Demeter and swallowed her whole. Rhea's despair grew as another of her children was ripped away. Cronus' madness spread through the family like a shadow. When Hera, the queenly goddess of marriage, was born, Rhea had barely looked into her daughter's eyes before Cronus appeared again, relentless in his obsession. His insatiable need to maintain power left no room for mercy or compassion. Hera, too, was consumed, her divine nature bound inside her father. The spark of the goddess, who would one day rule beside her brother as queen of the gods, was dimmed but not extinguished, for her essence lived on, albeit within Cronus' twisted form. As the years passed, Rhea bore more children. Hades, the god who would come to rule the underworld, was next. His birth was marked by Rhea's growing desperation, for she knew what would follow. Cronus, as ever, was watchful. He wasted no time in taking Hades, his face cold and unyielding as he consumed the child. The god of death and the underworld was trapped inside his father's body, waiting in darkness as the prophecy inched closer to fulfillment. Then came Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea. By this time, Rhea was nearly broken, her maternal joy entirely eclipsed by the terror of losing yet another child. Cronus was relentless, showing no remorse, no hesitation. Poseidon was swallowed, just like his siblings before him. The god of the oceans, who would one day command the waves and the great creatures of the deep, was reduced to a silent prisoner within his father's belly. Cronus believed himself invincible now, convinced that no force in the cosmos could challenge him. Inside Cronus, the gods were not dead, but trapped. Their divine forms continued to exist within him, their power latent but growing. Though they were confined in darkness, their time had not yet come. Unbeknownst to Cronus, his children's existence within him only fueled the prophecy, the inevitability of his downfall drawing closer with each child he consumed. Yet, to Cronus, each act of devouring was a victory, a defiance of fate, a prolonging of his reign. Rhea's grief had long since turned to rage. She was determined that her next child would not suffer the same fate. She sought counsel from Gaia, her mother, the great earth who had watched silently as the events unfolded. Gaia, wise beyond measure and filled with the ancient knowledge of the cosmos, devised a plan. Rhea was not alone in her sorrow, for Gaia, too, had seen enough of Cronus' tyranny. Together, they began to prepare for the arrival of the child who would change the fate of the world. Cronus, unaware of their plotting, remained obsessed with the prophecy. He believed that by swallowing his children, he had won. But even the mighty Cronus could not escape the wheels of destiny that had begun turning long before he took the throne. Fate was weaving its threads, and soon, a child would be born who would bring the prophecy to life and undo all that Cronus had built. Thus, the devouring of Cronus' children was not the end, but the beginning. Inside him, the gods waited, their time nearing, and Rhea, though heartbroken, held within her the hope of a new era. The next child she bore would not be swallowed. This child, born in secrecy and raised in exile, would rise to challenge the great Titan king and fulfill the prophecy that Cronus had so desperately tried to prevent. Rhea, driven to the edge of despair by Cronus' relentless devouring of their children, could bear no more. Each time she birthed a child, her heart filled with hope, only for that hope to be ripped away by the merciless hand of her husband. Her children, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, were swallowed alive, their divine essences imprisoned within Cronus' body, all because of his paranoid obsession with the prophecy that foretold his downfall. As the years passed, Rhea's grief festered into anger, and anger became determination. She could not let Cronus continue to destroy her children. When she discovered she was pregnant again, she knew that this child, her last hope, would not be sacrificed to Cronus' fear. She turned to the only being who might offer her guidance and aid. Her mother, Gaia, the earth herself, ancient and wise beyond all others. Rhea wept before Gaia, telling her of the horrors Cronus had committed and of the cruel fate that awaited her unborn child. Gaia, though burdened by the weight of time, listened with patience and understanding. The prophecy had been set in motion long before Cronus ascended to power, and Gaia knew that this child would be the key to its fulfillment. With a mother's love and a primal wisdom born of the earth, Gaia devised a plan to save the child and bring about Cronus' eventual downfall. The moment of birth arrived. As the labor pains gripped her, Rhea's heart pounded with fear. She knew that Cronus would be watching, waiting for the arrival of their newborn. But this time, things would be different. Under Gaia's instructions, Rhea traveled to a hidden cave on the island of Crete, far from Cronus' watchful eyes. The cave, concealed by lush forests and guarded by the spirits of the land, was sacred and secret. Here, in the depths of the earth, surrounded by the whispers of ancient power, Rhea gave birth to her final child, a son. The child was Zeus, and from the moment he was born, his presence was unlike any of his siblings. His cry echoed through the cave with the strength of thunder, as though the very sky recognized him as its future master. Rhea, exhausted but filled with love, cradled her newborn, knowing that he was destined for greatness. Yet, as much as she wanted to keep him close, she knew that Cronus would soon come to claim him, just as he had done with her other children. She could not let that happen. Following Gaia's plan, Rhea wrapped a stone in swaddling cloth and held it close, pretending it was the newborn. She placed the real Zeus in a cradle woven from soft vines and leaves, and entrusted him to the care of the nymphs and the spirits of the cave. Gaia herself blessed the child, ensuring that he would be hidden from Cronus' sight. Meanwhile, Rhea returned to Mount Othrys, where Cronus awaited her with his usual cold, calculating gaze. She handed him the stone, swaddled and disguised as their child, her heart racing as she watched him. Cronus, too consumed by his paranoia and too certain of his power, did not suspect the deception. Without hesitation, he swallowed the stone, believing he had once again thwarted the prophecy. He had no idea that his true son, the one destined to bring about his doom, was safe, far from his reach. As Cronus returned to his throne, confident in his continued reign, Zeus remained hidden on Crete, growing stronger each day. He was raised in secret by the nymphs of the forest and fed by the goat Amalthea, whose milk nourished him with the vitality of the wild. Zeus' cries were muffled by the warriors known as the Curetes, who danced and clashed their shields and spears together whenever the baby wailed, ensuring that Cronus would never hear the sound of his son's voice. In this secluded paradise, surrounded by the natural world and protected by forces ancient and powerful, Zeus thrived. As he grew, Zeus' strength and power became evident. Though he was still a child, he carried within him the potential of a god destined to rule the skies. The nymphs who raised him marveled at his resilience and his innate connection to the elements. He would often wander the forests, and it was said that the very clouds would gather above him, responding to his presence. The winds would swirl gently around him, as though acknowledging their future master. The earth, nurtured by his grandmother Gaia, provided him with everything he needed to flourish. But Zeus was not content to remain hidden forever. As he matured, the whispers of the prophecy began to stir within him. Though he did not yet know the full extent of his destiny, he understood that he was different, that his life held a greater purpose. He longed to know the truth about his origins and the fate of his siblings. It was during these years of growth that Zeus first learned of his father's tyranny and the plight of his swallowed brothers and sisters. Gaia, ever wise and watchful, revealed to him the full extent of Cronus' betrayal and the prophecy that had doomed him before he was even born. Zeus' heart burned with a righteous fury. He was filled with the desire to confront Cronus and liberate his siblings from their dark prison. But Gaia, knowing the importance of timing, counseled patience. She explained that Zeus' moment to challenge Cronus had not yet arrived, and that he would need allies and wisdom to succeed where his father had failed. Thus, the boy who would become the king of gods was forged in both power and patience, biding his time and preparing for the day when he would rise from the shadows to claim his birthright. The world, though peaceful under Cronus' rule, remained in the grip of a tyrant. But far from the eyes of that tyrant, in the secret forests of Crete, the storm that would one day topple the king was gathering strength. In the hidden cave of Crete, far from Cronus' gaze, Zeus grew in secrecy, nurtured by the loving care of the nymphs who had sworn to protect him. His days were filled with the quiet hum of the forest, the gentle rustling of leaves, and the soft whispers of the earth that had conspired to keep him hidden from the tyrant who had devoured his siblings. The island of Crete became his sanctuary, a world where the young god could grow in strength and wisdom, free from the tyranny of his father. From the moment he was born, Zeus was no ordinary child. His cries were said to shake the very sky, and the nymphs who cared for him soon realized that the infant god was destined for greatness. Gaia, the great earth herself, had blessed Zeus, and he was nourished by more than just the milk of the goat Amalthea. His connection to the land, the sky, and the primal forces of nature grew stronger with each passing day. Zeus, even in infancy, seemed to command the elements around him, as though they recognized him as their future master. Amalthea, the divine goat who provided milk for the infant Zeus, was no ordinary creature. Her milk was rich with the power of the wild, filling the young god with a strength that no mortal or even most immortals could comprehend. Zeus grew rapidly, his body strong and his mind sharp, nourished not just by Amalthea's milk but also by the unspoken wisdom of the earth. The nymphs, who served as his caretakers, marveled at his development, watching as he matured faster than any mortal child. Zeus' days were spent wandering the forests of Crete, exploring the island that was both his home and his prison. He would climb the mountains and gaze at the vastness of the world beyond, sensing the power within him stirring, waiting for its time to emerge. Though still young, he felt the pull of his destiny, the knowledge that one day he would leave the safety of this island and confront the world that awaited him. To protect Zeus, the warriors known as the Curetes were tasked with ensuring that Cronus never discovered the child's presence. These fierce warriors stood guard around the cave, dancing and clashing their shields and spears together whenever Zeus cried. The sound of their weapons drowned out the noise of the infant's cries, masking his existence from the all-seeing eyes of Cronus. These warriors performed their task with unwavering dedication, knowing that the fate of the world rested in their ability to keep Zeus safe. But despite the protection of the nymphs and the Curetes, Zeus' life was not one of complete isolation. He was a curious and eager child, and though he was hidden from the world often seemed to come to him. The animals of the forest, sensing his divine nature, would approach him without fear. Birds would land on his outstretched hand, and wolves would lie at his feet, recognizing him as a being of power and benevolence. Zeus' connection to the natural world deepened with time, and he became a child of the wild, learning its secrets and understanding its rhythms. Though Zeus was a child in form, his mind was far beyond his years. Gaia, the earth herself, would often speak to him in whispers, guiding him, teaching him the ancient truths of the cosmos. From her, Zeus learned about the forces that govern the world, the balance between creation and destruction, the cycle of life and death, and the inevitability of change. Gaia taught him that his destiny was tied to these primal forces, that he was born not just to challenge Cronus, but to bring order to a world still shaped by the chaos of the Titans. As Zeus grew, The nymphs told him stories of the great battles between the gods and the Titans, of Cronus' betrayal of Uranus, and of the prophecy that foretold Cronus' own downfall. They spoke to him of his siblings, who remained trapped within Cronus' belly, their divine essences imprisoned but not destroyed. Zeus listened to these tales with a growing sense of responsibility, understanding that the time would come when he would need to act. But for now, he remained in hiding, honing his skills and deepening his connection to the world around him. In the depths of the forest, Zeus discovered the power within himself. He learned to summon the winds, calling them forth with a mere thought. He could make the trees sway with his will, bending the natural world to his command. His laughter could cause the earth to tremble, and his anger, though rare, would send storms rolling across the island. The elements responded to him as though they had always known him, recognizing him as the future lord of the skies. But despite his growing power, Zeus was still just a boy, and there were moments of loneliness in his life of secrecy. He yearned to know more about his siblings, to understand the fate that had befallen them. The nymphs told him stories of Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, speaking of their beauty, their strength, and the great roles they were destined to play in the world. Zeus often wondered what it would be like to meet them, to stand beside them as an equal, and to free them from the darkness that had consumed their lives. As Zeus approached manhood, his time in secrecy was drawing to an end. The nymphs who had raised him sensed the change in the air, knowing that the young god they had cared for was nearing the moment when he would step into the world beyond Crete. Gaia, ever watchful, continued to guide him, preparing him for the challenges ahead. Zeus, though still young, had become a god of immense power, his destiny intertwined with the fate of the cosmos. The boy who had once been hidden away in a cave was now a god ready to confront the world. Though he had been raised in secrecy, the world beyond Crete had begun to stir, sensing the storm that was about to break. Cronus, still unaware of his son's existence, ruled with an iron grip, but the prophecy that had haunted him for so long was now closer to fulfillment than ever before. Zeus, the child of prophecy, was no longer a secret. He was a force waiting to be unleashed. And so Zeus' childhood came to a close, his time in secrecy giving way to the dawn of a new era. The world would soon know his name, and the Titans who had ruled for so long would face the storm that was destined to topple them. Zeus was ready to rise, and the world would never be the same again. Zeus, now a young god full of power and purpose, knew that his time had come. He could no longer remain hidden in the forests of Crete, protected by the nymphs and shielded from his father's wrath. The whispers of his destiny grew louder with each passing day, urging him to rise and fulfill the prophecy that had been laid out before his birth. The first step in this grand destiny was clear. He had to rescue his siblings, the divine brothers and sisters who had been devoured by Cronus and imprisoned within his stomach for so many years. The thought of his siblings' fate filled Zeus with both sorrow and fury. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. All of them had been swallowed alive, their divine essences trapped inside the very body of their father. They had suffered for years, isolated in darkness, their voices silenced and their powers suppressed. Zeus had grown up hearing stories of their greatness from the nymphs, imagining what they might have become had they been free to live their lives. Now it was his duty to free them, but to confront Cronus was no simple task. The Titan King was powerful beyond measure, ruling over the cosmos with an iron fist, and his paranoia made him ever vigilant. Zeus could not simply march into his father's throne room and demand the release of his siblings. He needed a plan, and more importantly, he needed an ally who could help him carry out his mission. It was then that Zeus sought out Metis, the Oceanid goddess of wisdom and cunning. Métis was known for her intelligence and her ability to devise strategies that no other god or mortal could conceive. She had seen the rise of the Titans and had long kept her distance from their cruel reign. When Zeus came to her, seeking her counsel, she immediately recognized the importance of his mission. She agreed to help him, not only because she believed in his cause, but because she knew that Cronus' downfall was inevitable, and Zeus was the key to fulfilling that destiny. Together, Zeus and Métis devised a plan. Cronus, though powerful, had one fatal flaw: his arrogance. He believed that by swallowing his children, he had neutralized the threat they posed to his rule. He could not imagine that one of his offspring had escaped, much less grown into a god capable of challenging him. Zeus would use this arrogance against him. Métis crafted a potion, a powerful emetic that would force Cronus to vomit up the children he had swallowed so many years ago. The potion was made from the essence of herbs and plants that only the earth itself could provide. Ingredients gathered in secret by Métis and blessed by Gaia. It was a brew of such potency that even the mighty Cronus would be powerless against its effects. With the potion in hand, Zeus disguised himself and made his way to Mount Othrys, the seat of Cronus' power. The journey was long and perilous, but Zeus was undeterred. He had spent years preparing for this moment, training his body and honing his powers in the forests of Crete. Now, as he approached his father's palace, he felt the weight of his destiny pressing upon him. Cronus, seated upon his throne, remained oblivious to the threat that was about to enter his domain. Surrounded by his fellow Titans, Cronus ruled the cosmos with absolute authority. His paranoia about the prophecy had waned over the years, convinced that his children were forever trapped within him. When Zeus arrived, disguised as a humble cupbearer, Cronus paid him no mind. To him, the young god was nothing more than a servant, a lesser being whose presence was of no consequence. Zeus, keeping his true identity hidden, approached Cronus and offered him the potion, disguised as a drink. The Titan king, arrogant and unsuspecting, accepted the cup without hesitation. He drank deeply, unaware that within moments, the powerful brew would begin to take effect. Suddenly, Cronus felt a great discomfort in his stomach. His body, once strong and unyielding, began to convulse as the potion took hold. Zeus watched carefully, knowing that the time had come. Cronus' eyes widened in horror as he realized what was happening. But it was too late. The mighty king of the Titans, who had devoured his own children to prevent his downfall, was now powerless to stop what was coming next. One by one, the divine children of Cronus were expelled from his body. First came Hestia, the goddess of the hearth, her radiant form emerging from the darkness where she had been trapped for so long. Then came Demeter, goddess of the harvest, her presence a force of life and renewal. Hera followed, her regal bearing already hinting at the queen she would become. Next came Hades, his dark and brooding nature tempered by the years of imprisonment he had endured. Finally, Poseidon, god of the seas, burst forth with all the fury of the ocean, his power evident even as he regained his freedom. Zeus stood before them, no longer disguised, but revealed as their brother and their savior. The siblings, weak from their long captivity, looked upon him with gratitude and awe. Though they had been born before him, it was Zeus who had rescued them, fulfilling the prophecy that Cronus had tried so desperately to prevent. Together, they stood as the next generation of gods, united by their shared suffering and their desire for justice. Cronus, weakened and humiliated, staggered before them. He could not comprehend how his plans had gone so terribly wrong. The children he had sought to destroy now stood before him, alive and free, and Zeus, the child he had never known, was the architect of his downfall. But the confrontation was not over. Zeus knew that the battle to overthrow Cronus would not be won with a simple potion. The time for open rebellion had come, and the gods would need to prepare for the war that would decide the fate of the cosmos. With his siblings freed from Cronus' belly, Zeus understood that their liberation was only the beginning. The true war had yet to begin, and it would not be a conflict they could fight alone. The Titans, who had ruled the cosmos for ages, remained powerful and deeply entrenched. Cronus still commanded immense forces, and many of the Titans would not hesitate to rise in defense of their king. Zeus needed more than just his brothers and sisters by his side. He needed an army, one powerful enough to rival the Titans in battle. The first to join Zeus in his cause were his own siblings, who had quickly regained their divine strength after their release. Hestia, the goddess of the hearth, was the first to pledge her loyalty to Zeus. Though gentle and nurturing, she understood the gravity of their situation and the necessity of overthrowing Cronus. Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, likewise joined him, her deep connection to the earth itself giving her the resolve to stand against the tyranny of the Titans. Hera, with her fierce and commanding presence, was determined to see their father fall and immediately vowed her support. Hades, god of the underworld, and Poseidon, god of the seas, both followed suit, knowing that they could not stand idle while Cronus continued his reign. But this core group of 6 gods, though powerful, was not enough to overthrow the Titans. Zeus knew that if they were to succeed, they would need the help of other forces, and so he set out to seek allies who could tip the scales in their favor. Zeus turned first to Gaia, the primordial mother of the earth and the one who had been wronged the most by the rule of the Titans. Gaia had long harbored resentment toward Cronus for betraying her by imprisoning his own father, Uranus. She saw in Zeus the potential to finally right the cosmic balance and bring down the brutal reign of the Titans. Gaia, in her infinite wisdom, revealed to Zeus the existence of powerful beings who had long been imprisoned by Cronus, beings who could become invaluable allies in the war to come. These beings were the Cyclopes and the Centimanes. The Cyclopes were mighty one-eyed giants, skilled in the art of forging and crafting the most powerful weapons in existence. In the early days of the cosmos, Cronus had feared their strength and potential, and so, like he had done with his own children, he had imprisoned them deep within the bowels of Tartarus, the dark abyss beneath the underworld. There, they had languished for eons, their immense powers untapped and unused. The Centimanes, even more fearsome than the Cyclopes, were monstrous giants with 50 heads and 100 hands. They were the children of Gaia and Uranus, but their terrifying forms had caused their father to imprison them. Cronus, after overthrowing Uranus, had kept them locked away in Tartarus, fearing that their power could one day rival his own. The Centimanes had been forsaken by both their father and their brother, left to rot in the darkness of the abyss. Zeus, with Gaia's guidance, made his way to Tartarus. This descent was not without danger, for the path to Tartarus was treacherous, guarded by ancient horrors that had been forgotten by the world above. But Zeus was undeterred, knowing that the Cyclopes and Centimanes were the key to victory. Upon reaching the prison where the Cyclopes were held, Zeus used his great strength to break their chains, freeing the giants from their long captivity. Grateful for their freedom, the Cyclopes immediately pledged their allegiance to Zeus and his cause. They knew that only by helping Zeus could they prevent Cronus from ever imprisoning them again. As a token of their loyalty, the Cyclopes forged 3 weapons of unimaginable power, each tailored to one of Zeus and his brothers. For Zeus, they created the thunderbolt, a weapon that would allow him to command the skies and wield the raw power of lightning. For Poseidon, they forged the trident, a mighty instrument that could control the seas and shake the earth itself. For Hades, they crafted the helm of darkness, a helm that granted its wearer invisibility and allowed Hades to move unseen through the world. These gifts would prove to be instrumental in the war to come, giving the gods the edge they needed in battle. Next, Zeus freed the Centaurs, whose rage at their imprisonment had only grown with the passing centuries. Towering over even the Cyclopes, these giants were beings of immense destructive power. With their 100 hands, they could hurl boulders with unparalleled strength, and their 50 heads made them nearly impossible to surprise in battle. They, too, pledged themselves to Zeus, eager to unleash their fury upon Cronus and the other titans who had forsaken them. With the Cyclopes and the Centaurs at his side, Zeus' forces grew in might, but he knew he would need even more allies if they were to have a chance against Cronus. It was then that he turned to the younger gods who had been born after the rule of the Titans. These younger gods, some born from the union of Titans themselves, had grown disillusioned with the tyranny of Cronus and were eager to see a new order rise. Among them were the likes of Helios, the god of the sun, Selene, goddess of the moon, and Prometheus, the wise titan who had foreseen the fall of the old order and knew that Zeus represented the future. Prometheus, in particular, became a key ally. Though a titan himself, Prometheus had always been sympathetic to the plight of the younger gods and had grown weary of Cronus' reign. He possessed great foresight and knew that Zeus' victory was inevitable. Prometheus, along with his brother Epimetheus, brought their knowledge and cunning to Zeus' cause, offering valuable strategies and insights that would prove crucial in the coming war. As word spread of Zeus' rebellion, more gods and lesser deities flocked to his banner. The old order, built on fear and tyranny, began to crumble as even some titans secretly sided with Zeus, hoping to avoid the wrath of the new generation. The stage was set for an epic confrontation, the likes of which the cosmos had never seen. The Titans, led by Cronus, would not relinquish their power easily, and the battle that loomed ahead would determine the fate of both gods and mortals alike. Zeus had gathered his allies, and with his siblings, the Cyclopes, the Centaurs, and the younger gods by his side, he was now ready to lead the charge against Cronus and the Titans. The time for secrecy was over, the war for the cosmos was about to begin. As the heavens trembled and the earth groaned beneath the weight of what was to come, Zeus stood at the head of his army, gazing out over the vast, uncharted battlefield that lay before him. The air was thick with the tension of impending conflict, the calm before a storm that would soon unleash chaos upon the cosmos. This war would not be fought with simple weapons or mortal strategies. This was the beginning of a battle between gods and titans, an earth-shattering event that would tear the very fabric of creation. On one side stood the Titans, towering and ancient, their presence commanding respect and fear. Led by Cronus, they were the embodiment of the old world, the primeval forces that had shaped the universe from its infancy. Cronus, clad in his armor of impenetrable bronze, stood at the forefront, his eyes burning with the knowledge that his reign was being challenged by his own blood. The Titans at his side, Hyperion, Oceanus, Iapetus, Ceus, and many others, each possessed godlike strength and unique powers. Their dominion had lasted for eons, and they would not give it up without a fight. Facing them, the new gods, young, determined, and fueled by a righteous fury, stood united behind Zeus. Though fewer in number, they were armed with weapons forged by the Cyclopes, weapons that could rival the Titans' raw strength. The air around Zeus crackled with the energy of his thunderbolt, his eyes reflecting the lightning that danced in the darkening skies. His brothers, Poseidon and Hades, stood on either side of him, Poseidon wielding his mighty trident and Hades wearing the helm of darkness. The rest of his siblings, each radiating divine power, awaited the signal to unleash their fury upon the Titans. And then there were the allies Zeus had gathered, beings of immense power in their own right. The Cyclopes, with their immense strength and skill in crafting, stood ready to forge more weapons and fight. The Centimanes, towering over even the Titans, bristled with anticipation, their 100 hands poised to rain destruction on Cronus' forces. Prometheus, the wise Titan who had sided with Zeus, stood among the gods, his foresight guiding them through the coming storm. When the first clash came, it was like the heavens themselves split open. Cronus raised his sickle, the same weapon he had used to castrate his father Uranus, and brought it down upon the earth. The ground shook, and a chasm opened between the two armies, as if the world itself sought to separate the forces of the old and the new. But Zeus was undeterred. With a roar that echoed through the cosmos, he hurled his thunderbolt across the sky. The bolt struck the ground with such force that the air ignited, and the earth trembled again. Lightning flashed, illuminating the battlefield in a blinding white light as the two armies collided. The battle was not a brief skirmish, but a long and grueling conflict that spanned years. The Titans fought with the fury of beings who had ruled the cosmos since the dawn of time. Hyperion, the Titan of light, unleashed beams of searing energy that scorched the earth and burned the skies. Oceanus, the Titan of the sea, summoned colossal waves that crashed upon the land, drowning entire battlefields in their wake. Zeus, the Titan of intellect, used his vast knowledge to strategize, outmaneuvering the gods at every turn. But Zeus and his allies fought with a resolve that the Titans had not anticipated. For the gods, this was not just a battle for dominion. It was a war for their very existence. Zeus, with his thunderbolt, could level mountains and incinerate entire legions of Titans with a single strike. Poseidon's control over the seas allowed him to counter Oceanus' attacks, sending tidal waves crashing back against the Titans. Hades, using the Helm of Darkness, moved unseen through the battlefield, striking from the shadows and vanishing before the Titans could retaliate. The Cyclopes, with their immense strength, forged weapons on the battlefield itself, their hammers ringing out like thunder as they crafted new instruments of war for the gods. The Centimanes were even more fearsome. With their 100 hands, they hurled boulders the size of mountains at the Titans, their sheer power enough to turn the tide of any skirmish. Whenever Cronus' forces seemed to gain the upper hand, the Centimanes would sweep through like a force of nature, demolishing entire ranks of Titans in their wake. But for all their power, the gods faced great losses as well. The Titans were ancient beings of unfathomable strength, and many gods and lesser deities fell in the heat of battle. The ground became stained with the ichor of the divine, and the very landscape of the world was reshaped by the titanic struggle. Mountains were torn apart, rivers were diverted, and new islands rose from the sea, created by the sheer force of the conflict. As the years wore on, it became clear that neither side was willing to relent. The gods, though younger, fought with a passion fueled by the belief that they were destined to rule. The Titans, on the other hand, fought with the knowledge that their time was coming to an end, yet they refused to be toppled without a fight. The skies themselves seemed to cry out in agony, the stars dimming as the battle between the gods and Titans tore at the very fabric of reality. Cronus, seeing that the war was not going in his favor, called upon ancient powers that even Zeus had not anticipated. From the deepest corners of the cosmos, Cronus summoned primordial forces, chaotic entities that had existed before even the Titans. These beings, older than time itself, brought with them a darkness that threatened to swallow the world whole. Entire regions of the battlefield fell into shadow, consumed by these primordial forces. Zeus, seeing the scale of the threat, knew that he had to act decisively. With the power of his thunderbolt and the strength of his allies, he led a daring assault on Cronus' stronghold. The battle there was ferocious, with the gods and Titans clashing with such force that the very air burned. Zeus confronted Cronus directly, their father-son conflict reaching its most climactic moment. The thunderbolt met the sickle in a clash of cosmic power, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The relentless war raged on, and the battlefield bore witness to the destructive might of both the gods and the Titans. Years had turned into an eternity of conflict, with no clear victor emerging. The skies darkened, filled with the roars of the combatants and the clash of divine powers. Yet, amid the chaos, a turning point approached, one that would seal the fate of Cronus and the Titans. Zeus, driven by an unyielding resolve to end the tyranny of his father, rallied his allies for a final assault. He gathered his siblings, the Cyclopes, the Centimanes, and the younger gods who had joined their cause. Together, they forged a plan to confront Cronus directly, recognizing that only by defeating the Titan King could they hope to shatter the grip of his reign and liberate the cosmos from his dark shadow. As the armies clashed once more, Zeus led the charge, his thunderbolt crackling with energy as he propelled himself toward the heart of the Titan ranks. Cronus, sensing the oncoming storm, stood defiantly at the forefront, his sickle gleaming with the power of ages. The very air seemed to quiver in anticipation of their confrontation, a palpable tension that resonated across the battlefield. With a fierce battle cry, Zeus surged forward, lightning cascading from his hands as he engaged Cronus in an epic struggle. Their weapons met with a thunderous crash, sending shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. Zeus, fueled by the support of his siblings and allies, fought with a ferocity that echoed the depths of his anguish over their shared past. Each clash of their weapons shook the very foundations of the earth. As they fought, the battlefield was a tumultuous spectacle. The Cyclopes unleashed their formidable strength, launching massive boulders at the Titans, while the Centimanes wielded their 100 hands to throw down destruction. The ground shook as Olympus itself trembled, caught in the throes of battle. Cronus, relentless and proud, fought back with the fury of a wounded beast. His sickle cut through the air, carving through the ranks of the gods, determined to protect his reign at any cost. But with each strike of Zeus' thunderbolt, the Titan King felt the weight of his impending doom. The energy emanating from Zeus grew more powerful, igniting the skies above as though the heavens themselves were responding to the call for justice. As the two combatants clashed, Cronus unleashed the primordial forces he had summoned to assist him. Shadows writhed and twisted on the battlefield, a dark storm threatening to engulf the very essence of creation. These chaotic entities began to consume the land, creating rifts in reality and pulling both sides into the depths of despair. The Titans, emboldened by this newfound power, surged forward, threatening to overwhelm the gods. Yet, in this moment of darkness, Zeus found his strength renewed by the unwavering loyalty of his allies. Realizing that their unity was their greatest weapon, he called out to his siblings and allies, encouraging them to focus their powers together. With his voice echoing like thunder, he rallied the gods, urging them to channel their strength into a single, focused attack. The gods, inspired by Zeus' rallying cry, formed a circle, their energies coalescing into a blinding light. The Cyclopes forged weapons from the very essence of their power, while the Centimanes prepared to unleash their devastating might. In that moment, the gods became a unified front, a force capable of standing against the darkness Cronus had unleashed. In a climactic showdown, Zeus directed the combined energy toward Cronus, the sickle-wielding Titan King standing resolute but increasingly desperate. As the blinding light surged toward him, Cronus roared in defiance, but it was a sound filled with the realization that his time was coming to an end. The combined might of the younger gods shattered the darkness, illuminating the battlefield as they launched their final assault. The clash of energies was cataclysmic. Zeus, wielding the full force of the thunderbolt, struck at Cronus with all his power. The bolt arced through the sky, crackling with the fury of the storm, and struck the Titan King with a force that reverberated throughout the cosmos. The very ground beneath Cronus trembled as he was engulfed in the energy unleashed by the united gods. For a moment, silence fell over the battlefield. Time itself seemed to freeze as the light of Zeus' thunderbolt engulfed Cronus. When the light dissipated, the once mighty Titan staggered, his sickle falling from his grasp. His face, once filled with rage and pride, was now painted with shock and disbelief. The weight of his actions over the millennia pressed down upon him as the realization dawned. His reign had come to an end. With one final thrust of energy, the gods seized their opportunity. Zeus charged forward, his thunderbolt aimed directly at Cronus. The Titan King, weakened and cornered, attempted to resist, but it was futile. The power of the younger gods surged through Zeus as he unleashed a devastating blow, sending Cronus crashing to the ground. As the dust settled, the battlefield was forever altered. The Titans, witnessing the fall of their king, began to waver. The dark forces that had once bolstered Cronus now retreated, leaving the Titans exposed and vulnerable. The gods pressed their advantage, sweeping through the Titan ranks, breaking the resolve of those who had once ruled with an iron fist. In the aftermath of the climactic battle, Cronus lay defeated, his body sprawled upon the earth. The skies above began to clear, and a new dawn broke over the battlefield. Zeus, standing victorious, gazed out over the land that had been marred by conflict. The Titans had fallen, their age of tyranny ended, and the gods had emerged triumphant. The remnants of the Titan army, stripped of their power and leadership, fled into the shadows. Many would seek refuge in the depths of the earth, hiding in the dark recesses of Tartarus, while others would be imprisoned by the very gods they had once sought to subdue. The age of the Titans had come to a close, and the era of the gods was poised to begin. With Cronus defeated and the Titanomachy drawing to a close, Zeus stood with his siblings and allies, knowing that their victory was not simply the end of a battle, but the birth of a new order. They had come together, forged in the fires of conflict, and emerged stronger, united by their shared purpose. As they looked upon the remnants of the battlefield, a new sense of hope filled the air. The reign of Zeus and his siblings would herald an era of justice and prosperity. Together, they would reshape the cosmos, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. The sky brightened, and for the first time in ages, the sun shone down on the world, a symbol of the dawn of a new age, one where the gods would reign in harmony rather than tyranny. With the fall of Cronus and the defeat of the Titans, the cosmos lay in a fragile silence, the echoes of battle still resonating in the air. The gods, victorious yet weary, gathered in the aftermath of the Titanomachy, their hearts filled with both triumph and trepidation. They stood on the sacred grounds of Olympus, where the air was charged with a newfound energy, a sense of destiny lingering in the atmosphere. This was a pivotal moment in history, the dawn of a new era that demanded decisions of great consequence. Zeus, having emerged as the leader of the gods, called for a council. His siblings, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia, joined him, each aware that the time had come to divide the vast expanse of the cosmos among themselves. The realms they would govern were as vast and varied as the gods themselves, each territory representing not only power but the responsibility that came with it. The very fabric of the universe hung in the balance as they contemplated the new order they would establish. The gods gathered at the summit of Mount Olympus, a sacred place imbued with divine significance. Here they could look down upon the world they had fought to reclaim. The golden light of dawn bathed the mountaintop in warmth, illuminating the faces of the newly ascendant deities. Zeus, standing tall with his thunderbolt in hand, addressed the assembly. He spoke of their shared victory and the need to restore balance to the cosmos, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. The first matter at hand was the division of the realms, a task that would require both wisdom and foresight. Zeus proposed that they draw lots to determine the distribution of the cosmos. Each god would receive dominion over a specific realm, a sacred responsibility that came with its own set of challenges. The tension in the air was palpable as they contemplated what each realm would signify, the weight of their choices pressing upon them. To decide their fates, they gathered a golden urn, its surface gleaming in the sunlight. Each god placed a token inside, an object symbolizing their desires and intentions for the realms they wished to govern. Once the tokens were collected, Zeus mixed them together and drew the first. The outcome would set the course for their new order. As the tokens were drawn one by one, Zeus claimed the skies and the throne of Olympus, the very seat of power among the gods. His dominion encompassed the heavens, where he would rule with the authority of the storm, ensuring justice and order in the celestial sphere. With his control over the sky came the ability to wield thunder and lightning, powers that would serve as both a weapon and a symbol of his authority. Poseidon, with a mighty wave of his hand, took the second draw. He claimed the vast oceans and seas, becoming the god of water and storms. His kingdom would encompass not only the tides and currents, but also the creatures that dwelled within the depths. Poseidon's power over the waters would allow him to control the vast and unpredictable nature of the seas, making him a formidable force in the pantheon. Hades, always the enigmatic figure, drew the third token. With it came the realm of the underworld, the domain of the dead. He would preside over the souls of the departed, ensuring that they found their rightful place in the afterlife. While many might view the underworld with fear and trepidation, Hades embraced his role, recognizing the importance of balance in life and death. His kingdom, although often shrouded in darkness, would serve as a necessary counterpart to the realms above. Hera, the goddess of marriage and family, took her turn next. She claimed the sacred bond of marriage, ensuring that love and commitment would thrive among mortals. Her influence would be felt in the homes of men and women, guiding relationships and overseeing the sanctity of family life. Hera's power would be one of nurturing, yet she would also be a protector of women, ensuring that the bonds of marriage were respected and honored. Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, drew her token next. She claimed dominion over the earth's fertility, the cycles of growth, and the changing seasons. Her realm would be one of abundance, where she would oversee the agriculture that nourished humanity. The land would flourish under her watchful eye, ensuring that crops thrived and that the connection between the gods and mortals remained strong. Finally, Hestia, the goddess of the hearth, took her place among her siblings. She claimed the sacred fire and the warmth of the home, her realm encompassing the domestic sphere. Hestia's influence would ensure that the flame of hospitality burned bright in every household, fostering peace and unity among families. Her role was one of comfort and stability, a necessary balance to the more tumultuous forces of her brothers. As each god claimed their realm, they understood the responsibilities that came with their newfound power. They were not simply rulers but caretakers of the cosmos, tasked with maintaining balance and harmony in a world that had just emerged from chaos. The gods realized that their unity would be tested, and it was essential that they work together to prevent any one realm from tipping the scales of power. With their domains established, the gods set forth to create the structures that would govern their respective realms. Zeus began by establishing the Council of Olympus, where the gods would convene to discuss matters of great importance, ensuring that decisions were made collectively for the benefit of all. This council would serve as a forum for both conflict resolution and celebration, a place where divine voices could unite to shape the future. Poseidon set about creating the oceans, shaping the tides and currents to establish harmony among the waters. He summoned the Nereids and other sea nymphs to assist him, filling the depths with life and beauty. Under his guidance, the seas flourished, becoming a domain of both wonder and terror, where sailors would both revere and fear the god of the ocean. Hades, in his own domain, established the structure of the underworld, creating a place of judgment and rest for the souls of the departed. He summoned the souls of those who had passed and, alongside his loyal companion, Cerberus, the three-headed dog, he ensured that each soul found its rightful place, whether in the peaceful Elysian fields or the shadowy depths of Tartarus. Hera, with her keen sense of justice, established rites and ceremonies to honor the sacred bonds of marriage. She guided mortals in their unions, ensuring that love blossomed and families flourished. Her presence brought stability to the homes she touched, and her watchful gaze became a symbol of the sanctity of marriage. Demeter cultivated the earth, ensuring that the seasons followed their natural course. She taught mortals the art of agriculture, showing them how to sow and reap the bounty of the land. Under her guidance, the earth thrived, and the connection between humanity and nature deepened. Hestia kindled the hearths of homes, ensuring that every family felt the warmth of her fire. She fostered community and togetherness, reminding mortals of the importance of kinship and hospitality. The hearth became a sacred place, where families gathered to share meals, stories, and laughter. As the gods established their realms, they also recognized the need for balance in their governance. They made oaths to support one another, vowing to protect their realms and the mortals who inhabited them. The lessons of the Titanomachy lingered in their minds, and they understood that unity was paramount to prevent any future conflicts that could arise from unchecked power. With the cosmos divided among them, the gods settled into their roles, each fulfilling their duties with a sense of purpose. They watched over the world, ensuring that balance was maintained and that the chaos of the past would not resurface. The Age of the Gods had begun, marked by the promise of prosperity, justice, and unity, a new order that would shape the destiny of all creation. As they stood together on the heights of Olympus, a sense of hope filled the air, a shared belief that they were not just rulers but guardians of the cosmos, destined to create a legacy that would endure for millennia.